I love your Mary novels.
Thank you.
The question I have is, you've mentioned how the three famous mountains have recognized Mary. And is there a chance that she'll reunite all three mountains in the future?
Well, there's always a chance. Happy ever after, I'm a big believer that happy ever after with some work can always get there, metaphysically and in the physical. So there's a chance, yes.
Hi, I'm a big fan of the background characters and the supporting cast, which you have a lot in your books. I'm wondering, now that she's finally starting to get control of her new powers, we've lost a little bit of Ronnie because she was, yeah.
Be a little nicer, just a little nicer.
And we're losing a little bit of Dolph because of what's going on with his family. Are you planning on either bringing them back or someone else that's outside of her metaphysical control to help her?
I'm hoping to get some of the police back on stage. I think the next time we see Ronnie, it's going to be about the couples therapy with Louie. So that's going to be not a happy chapter. That's going to be the whole, never mind. But it's going to be one of those talks. And of course, you're talking to Anita about being forced to do monogamy. I think I talked to other girlfriends at this point.
Hello. After reading several of your books, I went online to browse around and see what all else you had written, and I found this, which
yes.
I just read in preparation for the con, and there's no sex in it. What's that?
She's holding up the Star Trek novel I wrote, and she's complaining that there's no sex in it. I wrote a Next Generation novel. It didn't occur to me to ask permission. I thought okay, they let me torture Picard. I had to ask permission for that. He got tortured in my book before he got tortured on the air. So they're a little picky about sexual content for the characters, and it's their sandbox. Yeah. So there you go. And also at that time, that was only the second book I'd ever written, so it was Night Seer, and then I wrote this in between, actually. I hadn't written a sex scene yet. People forget that. They forget that the Anita series actually had 5 books. Well, actually, no. Jason always bitches at me when I say there's no sex to book 6. Because Jason had a really traumatic sex scene in book 5 with the 2 rotting vampires. And so every time I used to say no sex till book 6, and Jason always complained, so no, till book 5. It just wasn't the main character. So I used to, once upon a time, actually not write sex scenes. Oh dear. So it didn't occur to me. You're welcome.
I know the TV show you said was done and gone and everything, but should Hollywood ever have gotten its act together, who would you see playing Anita?
I can't answer that question because no matter who I say, 1 of you will not like it, 2 of you will not like it, 3 of you will not like it. You'll get fighting amongst yourselves.
Nice.
You're playing Anita? What? Oh. If you have something to share with the class, come here. No? Nothing to share with the class? I know you're blushing. I don't. This is a special moment. I've never seen him blush. That's too cool. That's too cool. Okay, sorry. Distracted again.
I just wanted to say I love seeing more of Edward in your books. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. Why does Richard have so many hang-ups? Like,
why does Richard have so many hang-ups? I don't know. You'd almost have to talk to him. I just write him. Thank God I don't live in his head most of the time. Actually, Richard is the one character that seems to be the one that goes, this is weird. Does anybody else notice this is weird? Yeah. He's the one person who says, I don't want to do this and this is weird. Everybody else just goes, okay. And he's apparently the only person who fights about it. But he's coming to terms with himself, and he's also showing the progress. Okay.
Short announcement, we're 5 minutes out for the end of the panel, so the people who are in line now, currently, this is all we're going to be able to get to. I'm terribly sorry, but time being what it is.
Okay, sorry. Yes, on tour, I do this for 2 hours at a shot instead of an hour, but we only got an hour, so.
Hi.
Hi.
How's Dolph and his whole drama square?
Dolph is seeking therapy and feeling better. I have been debating whether to have the dinner with the family, with Anita talking to them about the vampire daughter-in-law potential thing, having Jean-Claude there. But I just can't think of anyone Dolph would hate more. Not because he's a vampire, but he just seems like the kind of guy that would get on Dolph's nerves. Doesn't he? The amusement factor is very tempting. But I don't think it would be a good idea or a useful idea. But we are going to see that. But I honestly think that the daughter-in-law is going to finally break the son over to be a vampire, because she's immortal, not aging. She wants her husband to be the same. And he doesn't see it as anything wrong. So I don't know how Dolph's going to take that.
Hey Laura, I want to ask you a writer's question. When you have an idea for a novel, do you sit down and plot out a detailed synopsis first, or do you just go with the idea and let the characters drive the story?
I do a little bit of both. I never do a detailed synopsis. I hate outlines. I'm infamous. I've had editors admit that my outlines suck. But early on in your career, you have to do an outline to get a book contract after you're big enough to not have to write the whole book first. But I tell them, this is just so I can get the contract done. Don't use this for cover. It will change. It always changes. So, no, I can't do a detailed synopsis. If I do too detailed a synopsis, I feel like I've already written the book. It takes away some of the impetus of the writing. I will outline on an Anita book or a Mary book, depending on, I will do the mystery and know the clues, but I will know some events. I will usually know who done it or the end, not always, and I have the beginning, and that's about it. I write like I'm crossing a great chasm, and I'm doing it a board at a time. I put the board out, and I know where I'm at, and then I have to wait for a new board. And I'm stuck in the middle of the air until I have enough boards to cross. And that's how I write. And that's, for me, over-planning is the death of a novel, because I'm done. I don't need to write it anymore. You're welcome.
Hi, Laurel. I have a question about when you first wrote Guilty Pleasures. When was that?
I wrote Guilty Pleasures in the late 1980s. Wow. Yes, back in the day. I wrote it so long ago. The one reason I rejected it 200 times is that nobody knew what it was. Because there were a few books out there at the time that had mixed fantasy and mystery, or horror and mystery, but nobody had done quite all the elements I did. So the mystery houses thought it was horror. The horror houses thought it was science fiction. The science fiction houses thought it was maybe fantasy. I actually had editors recommend other editors to send to other houses because they loved the book, but they didn't know how to market it. It was mixed genre. Mixed genre doesn't sell. Then somebody took a chance, and it did sell, and sell well, and suddenly the term paranormal existed. So, once upon a time, long, long ago, before Buffy, there was me out there plugging away and trying to sell something that everybody said, vampires are a dead genre. I actually didn't want anyone to tell me that. Vampires are dead genre. They'll never sell. And it's really tempting to write them a little card now and go, have you seen Twilight? But I'm not that petty.
Can I just, real quick, I was just curious, Jean-Claude did make the decision he didn't want any more vampires being made. Is that continuing, including the church that he's now head of?
He's in charge of the Church of Eternal Life, but they have the deal with people that if you're like in a car accident or something and you're not quite dead, they have to legally keep you alive if you have a little ID bracelet of the church, so the vampire can come that night and finish the job. or keep you alive in a state of coma so you can have blood drawn 3 nights in a row if it hasn't been started. So it's a very gray situation, and he's conflicted about it, but he can't change the whole church now that he's in charge of it, or sort of in charge of at least the part of St. Louis. He doesn't dare. It would be too much bad press. But he is conflicted about it. But the Church of Charlotte doesn't take the best and brightest. They take the people who join them. And it's more free will. He and I both use more free will. It's not a vampire that comes and seduces you usually. It's usually you think it's a good idea and you join the church. That seems a little bit more a personal choice to us. Okay. Are we out of time? Yes, we are out of time. All right. Thank you all for coming.